Czajkowski litajuczy, mał za dziećmi płacze, słońce grzieje.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the stream and the 1020th day of the large-scale invasion from the Russian Federation of Ukraine is over now, but we're going to be covering it as time goes on. But before we do that, I want to, every week Zelensky's team puts out a video of the strikes in Ukraine for the week, and I wanted to cover that first. And that is the Russian terrorist hitting civilians for the 145th week of the war. It's a chilling sight. Well, let's hop into the after action report. Operational information as of 8 a.m. December 9th, regarding the Russian invasion. The situation on the front remains difficult. The enemy, using its superiority in manpower and equipment, is relentlessly attacking our positions. Ukrainian defenders are steadfastly holding back the onslaught of the occupiers, inflicting significant losses on the enemy. In total, 191 combat clashes were recorded over the past day. According to updated information, yesterday the enemy launched one missile strike using 2 missiles on the positions of Ukrainian units and settlements, as well as 14 airstrikes, dropping 25 aircraft bombs. In addition, it carried out more than 3,000 artillery strikes, including 92 from MLRS systems, and involved 1,599 kamikaze drones for destruction. The aggressor carried out airstrikes, in particular in the areas of the settlements of Novoandrivka, Malotomanka in the Zaporizhia region. I'll show you guys those cities when we get down to Zaporizhia in Orhiv direction. Over the past day, missile troops and artillery of the defense forces hit one area of concentration of personnel, weapons, and military equipment, and 2 ground control systems for unmanned aerial vehicles. Getting into the Kharkiv direction, the enemy stormed the positions of our defenders 5 times in the areas of the settlements of Voschansk, Lipsy, and Vysoka Yarga. Going into Deep State. And, of course, Voschansk. Okay, where's the other 2? I know I've seen them before. I just can't remember where they're at. Vysoka Yarga is over here, but Lipsy. Russia is trying to create a entry point over here as well, and create a three-pronged attack to Kharkiv, which is very close to the Russian border. It's what they do best. Try to ruin other people's way of life. Moving on to Kupiansk direction. Scroll this up so I'm looking up more. In the Kupiansk direction, eight attacks by the invaders took place during the day. The defense forces repelled the enemy assault actions near Pashkanki, Kolonivska, Lozova, and Zagorivzova. It's easier for me to pronounce it when I see it on the map for some reason. Moving over to Kupiansk. Kolonivska, Zahirizova, and Lozova. So it seems like they're reducing the number of areas that they're attacking in, but not the number of attacks, just trying to focus their troops in specific areas. Moving on to the Liman direction, and as you will see, they are stepping up the number of attacks in the Liman direction. Russians attacked 28 times. He tried to penetrate our defenses near Boshulivka, Druzhalubivka, Kopanki, Zelenigay, Zarachny, Terny, Yampolivka, Harivka, Nadivka, and Makivka. That is literally the entire front line. Makivka, Hirlivka, Ivanica, Terny, Yampolivka, Zarechny, of course, Toreski, Yampil, Hirohorivka, and sometimes it's mentioned, sometimes it's not, but this is the Serebryanka forest that they talk about a lot in the updates. Just zooming in, you see it's not much of any developments in here. So it's just trees, and more trees. Sadly, it was a very beautiful area. One of these days I'll have to find a video from this forest today and show you guys the images from Google Maps of this forest. It was very beautiful, and now it's a popsicle stick graveyard. So combining Kramatorsk and Torets direction. In the Kramatorsk direction, the occupiers attacked 3 times in the areas of the settlements of Stupochna, Chasiv Yar, and Bilohora. Same 3 settlements, day after day, just constant attacks. In the Torets direction, the enemy carried out 8 attacks near the settlements of Torets, Dolivka, Leonidivka, and Serebryanka. Serebryanka. Okay. Moving down, service direction was quiet again today. But moving to Chasiv Yar, Stupochny, and Bilohora is here. Divlivka, Toretsk, Serebyanka, Leonivka, so still just focused on this area. I have a little bit of a deep dive to go into Toretsk. Even Deep State is admitting it is hard to know where Russia controls, where it doesn't. There is literally house to house fighting. Well, let's just go to let me pull the update here for you. So well, you guys look at that. I am going to read the text on the side here. It is impossible to say which part of the city of Touretsk is controlled by Ukrainian troops and which by the... Well, it's harder to read on that one with the... And which is controlled by the Russian army. Active battles with very close contact continue in the city, where units of the defense forces are fighting literally for every house and even a room in the house. The enemy is present in our rear and our personnel in theirs. That is why even in OTUV, the deep state map, they don't have a complete idea about the lines of engagement because no one has it. The enemy continues its assault along Druzhba Street and Vasilstus Street in the city center, which is up off of this map. This is the lower section of it. The enemy continues this assault along Druzhba Street and has some success on those streets. In addition, the enemy is trying to gain a foothold at the mine. I lost where it was. Several times the enemy has recorded the Terrakon. Several times the enemy was recorded on the Terrakons of this mine, which is these, what the Ukrainians call these here. These are like the debris from the mines. Very active fighting is taking place directly in Zabalka neighborhood to the south of Toretsk, which is this neighborhood here. The enemy infiltrates the residential area and tries to entrench itself there with infantry and further control of the area and advancement. The picture shows a public recording of damage to the south of the city of Toretsk for the period of November 18th to December 8th. Red is a attack by the Russians. Blue, where was it? Red are attacks that failed of the Russians. Blues are losses of Ukrainian defenses. And it doesn't say what the green ones are. So as you can see, fighting is spread out throughout the area. But yeah, that is what city fighting, urban street fighting is like. Yeah, I don't think this is translating right. Okay, but still, either way, red versus blue. Um, it's spread throughout the entire city. They're fighting, house to house, literally. Oh, and you see, even that map doesn't match up with this map. Um, so it's hard to say what's going on and what is not in Toretsk. Um, even by those who call themselves professionals doing it. Um, the thing that amazes me is like when they mention room to room fighting. Can you imagine being in one room of your house and Russians shooting at you from another room? You're in your bedroom and the Russians are in your living room. That that is crazy. That's um let me catch up with chat because you guys are chatting it up today. Well, welcome everybody. Sorry if I miss you. But let's go back to the top. Andrew, Ronnie, KKGG, Real Vladimir Putin. Good to see you folks. Here chatting with you before the stream started. Anna, KKGG, Nian. Okay, there's where I left. KKGG trying to make me blush. With the brilliant and humble comment. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting situation with the guy in New York. I'm not sure what's going to happen there. It's a coin toss, I think. Mark Segamon, good to see you. Welcome to the stream. Oh yeah, OBS ran an update and I was so worried I was going to be doing one of those talking without my mic. That's weird, Nian, that YouTube's deleting your comments. Is that Swedish? You guys are saying hi and back to each other in a different language. I'm not sure which language it is. Okay, I see something happen in chat. I'll have to get down to that in a minute. If Whole Foods sells sliced apples, is that false advertisement? No, because it's a whole apple slice. Now here's a follow-up question for you, LJ. If there's a wormhole in the apple, does that count as a whole food? This is the town of Toretsk. Andrew Petrie. Well, it's just not Ukraine that Russia's invading. It's Georgia, Chechnya, Syria. It's too many to remember them all. Oh yeah, Europe, Middle East, Asia. Okay, which one do you need to remember, Ronnie? Moldova, yeah, Moldova too. You're lucky, Niels, that no body parts hurt. I wish I had that issue. Karen joke of LJ. Oh, okay, yeah. All right, sorry about that. I just wanted to see what was going on in chat because I saw messages disappearing and in the Pokrovsk direction. Our defenders stopped 53 assault actions of the aggressor towards the settlements of Mirolubivka, Novotoresky, Promin, Lysivka, Desheshki, Zeleny, Novotrud, Zatorovy, Novotor. Okay. Two towns, very similar names, Novotoretsky and Novotroitsky. And Chematsky. Not easy ones, but again, it's still pretty much the names we see every day. Mirolubivka, Promin, Lysivka, Dasheny, Novotrud, Novotorsky. Let's see where that other one is with a similar name. Novotorsky, Troitsky, and Novotoretsky. I don't see where Novotoretsky is. Chunasky, Novo. Oh, if you guys can make out what that says, let me know. And well, I'm gonna give up on trying to find it for right now. But unfortunately, Russia is making advances in the Pokrovsk area. Trying to expand out to get more avenues of attack on Pokrovsk and Mirnograd. I mean, it's hard not to make advances when you're sending in 53 assaults in a little area. I mean, literally from here to Mirolubivka, 27 kilometers. So every half kilometer, there's an attack, essentially. Every half kilometer, there's an attack pretty much every half hour. More than every half hour with 53 assaults in one day. It's really hard not to make for. I mean, it is Russia making advances, so you throw enough bodies at a situation, you'll get something accomplished. Moving on to the Kharkiv direction. In the Kharkiv direction, the defense forces repelled 40 Russian attacks. And again, it's pretty much every town in this direction. Sontsivka, Staroturny, Maximilianivka, Dacheny, Korokovo, Katerinivka, Elizavetivka, Hanivka, Antonivka, and Upensky. Save that. Sontsivka, Staroturny, Dacheny, Korokova, Elizavetivka, Hanivka, and Upensky, the whole front line. And again, 40 attacks. From Elizavetivka to Sontsivka is 20 kilometers. That's a marathon. People run this distance. And there's 40 attacks in one day in this area. In the Verminsk direction, Russians carried out 19 assaults on their positions in the areas of Novosivka, Novodorivka, Sukovyaly, and Blahodatny. Sukovyaly, Blahodatny's here. Makrivka, Novosivka, Novodorivka. Velika Novosivka is here, but Novosivka is here, and Novodorivka is here. Of course, Russians were pushed out of Novi Kumar a couple days ago. They literally held it for a few hours. And again, from Novodorivka to Sukovyaly, it's 40 kilometers. Not a big area to have 19 attacks in. In the Orikhiv direction, occupation troops with the support of aviation once stormed the positions of the defense forces in the settlements of Nestoryanka. Let me just cover that one as well. And this is where they used the glide bombs. I do not know where that... I spoke too soon. Nestoryanka is here. But remember earlier... Novoandrivka and Malatomaka. These were the cities attacked with aviation. So they bombed these two cities and tried to attack from this direction. I really wish they'd get back with the editing. Okay, I think this is where we were. The defense forces are making efforts to prevent the enemy from advancing deep into Ukrainian territory and have successfully repelled 7 offensive actions of the enemy in the Dnipro direction. They're talking about this river area along here. 7 attacks. There is talk of Russians hitting these islands. There are videos out there of this happening. However, I cannot show them on YouTube. But those attacks could be anywhere along this line. They just don't seem to give city names with this direction. In the Juliupol and Service directions, the enemy did not conduct active actions. In Volyn and Polisu directions, no signs of the formation of offensive enemy groups have been detected. Our soldiers are inflicting significant losses in manpower on the occupation forces, equipment, and actively undermining the enemy's offensive potential in the rear. With that, we go to the graphic for the Russian losses in the last day. Total combat losses of the Russian Federation as of December 9th, the 1020th day of the full-scale invasion. They lost 1,220 personnel, 18 armored personnel vehicles, 3 artillery systems, 22 UAVs, 2 cruise missiles, 24 vehicles, and 1 special equipment. Getting back to Telegram. No air alerts in Ukraine at the moment. And Zelensky is back in Kyiv and has his speech ready for us today. And that's a good thing because my voice needs a break. Oh, it's a big one. It's having me download it instead of just playing it. Well, that's downloading. Let me catch up with chat again. I'm also getting better at pronouncing Ukrainian words in general, so it's just something general that comes along. Yeah, Mark Sagan, I read somewhere that Moscovia doesn't actually have 144 million people. They lied. What else is new? They lie about everything. Okay, KKGG. Just like when one drinks too much soda at the movies, you miss all the good parts. See, that's where men have an advantage. All we need is an empty soda bottle. And really good aim. Yeah, not only did Russia lie about their population numbers, they've sent people to jail and executed them for the census not having the right number of people. Like, that's one job I definitely would not want in Russia, because census takers are rarely seen from again after the census. Okay, Andrew Petrie says, no worries, Russia has one option, money. Not really. They don't even have that anymore. Their only option is oil. If it wasn't for oil, the Russian economy would already have collapsed. Nova Ukraina. No, I was trying to find Novotoretsky. Yeah, I found Novotroitsky. Go back to that area. So, Novotroitsky. I was looking for Novotoretsky. I still don't see it. And I'm blaming you, KKGG, because now I got to go to the bathroom.
Бажаю здоров'я, шановні українці, українки.
Hold on a second. So, I hate to say this, but I am going to pull an enforeskin. I'm going to play Zelensky's speech, and I'm going to run to the restroom and be right back. I am really sorry, Mr. Zelensky, and sorry, chat. I'll be right back.
Провів сьогодні ставку. Одне з питань – якість підготовки наших воїнів. Це те, що потребує відчутних змін. Кадрові зміни відбулись саме для того, щоб перезавантажити систему підготовки наших воїнів. Олег Апостол, Михайло Драпати цим будуть займатися. Сьогодні був початок відповідного обговорення на нашій ставці. Я дав доручення на наступну ставку підготувати детальну доповідь, а зараз зробити аудит того, які речі потребують негайних змін. Що саме має бути виправлено, що маємо додати і кого ще замінити. Все, що необхідно, може бути забезпечено і на організаційному рівні, і на рівні фінансів. Саме якість підготовки воїнів – це багато в чому результативність наших воїнів в боях. І, звичайно, це збереження життів наших хлопців. Була сьогодні доповідь головкома Сирського, фронт, захист наших позицій, всі основні напрямки, Курська операція. Дякую всім нашим воїнам, які знищують окупанта. Була також окрема доповідь Павла Паліси щодо сум прямих коштів в бригади безпосередньо для додаткової закупівлі дронів. Нещодавно вже ухвалили рішення про суму таких прямих грошей. Але зараз я бачу, що тієї суми також недостатньо. Я доручив прем'єр-міністру найближчими днями збільшити фінансування для бригад, додатково на порядок збільшити. Важливі міжнародні зустрічі сьогодні були. Новий прем'єр-міністр Естонії Крістен Міхаел з першим візитом саме в Україну. Ми вдячні за всю підтримку, оборону, політичну, гуманітарну. Вдячні Естонії і всім Балтійським державам. Говорили про те, як досягти більших результатів у захисті нашої землі і людей від Росії, у захисті нашої Європи. Зокрема, одне з питань – це комплектування бригад. Україна вдячна Франції, президенту Макрону за підготовку однієї бригади. Зараз ми будемо говорити з французькою стороною про підготовку другої бригади. Також зараз в Європі, а саме в Німеччині, американська сторона готує українську бригаду, і це важливо. І ми говорили також з партнерами нашими, з нордіками, з країнами Північної Європи, що вони разом з державами Балтії можуть теж підготувати ще одну бригаду. Це буде...
I just wanted to stop it there for one reason. Talking about other countries, France, Baltics, U.S. training brigades for Ukraine. This is why I think it's a moot point to lowering the conscription age. The minimum age to be conscripted into the army in Ukraine right now is 25. Everybody's sitting there telling Ukraine they need to lower it to 18. They can't train the brigades they have, the recruits they have now. UK, Canada, US, France, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, and I believe Finland are even training soldiers for Ukraine. Why make an unpopular decision of lowering the conscription age when you have such training bottlenecks as it is, not to mention equipment?
Дуже відчутний внесок в оборону Європи. Звичайно, ми говорили з прем'єр-міністром Естонії про заходи, які відбудуться незабаром. Сьогодні ж з візитом в Україну був також Фрідріх Мерц, лідер німецької опозиції. Ми вдячні Німеччині за лідерство в Європі, за обсягами підтримки і, зокрема, за підтримку у розвитку нашої протиповітряної оборони. Тисячі життів вже врятовані завдяки системам ППО та іншій зброї, яку надала Німеччина. Ми можемо зробити значно більше. Говоримо про це на всіх рівнях. Сьогодні було кілька тем. Перше – запрошення в НАТО. Друге – мені подобається позиція Мерца. І це просто правдива, справедлива позиція, що для України несправедливо і неефективно воювати однією рукою. І нам потрібні Тауруси, як і інші далекобійні ракети, щоб бити по необхідних військових цілях в Росії, і саме так закінчити війну якнайшвидше. Чим менше буде російський військовий потенціал, тим швидше буде досягнутий мир. Україна представила партнерам пункти плану перемоги. І всі партнери це знають. Всі знають пункти, і геополітичні пункти, і воєнні. І ми вважаємо, що країни, від яких залежить і питання щодо НАТО, і далекобійна зброя для нашого захисту, і всі ті країни, хто фінансує виробництво зброї в Україні, потребують спільної позиції та повної координації. Європа, Америка, інші частини світу, ми всі маємо бути у єдності заради безпеки, бо не буває безпеки часткової. І якщо є Росія, яка руйнує життя інших, це завжди битиме по всіх. Ми маємо бути разом. Ми обговорювали саме таку координацію, таку групу для Європи, і ми готували її, і найближчим часом організуємо таку зустріч координаційної такої групи для Європи. Важливо, щоб все відбувалось у єдності. Наш підхід до такої групи, щонайменше Німеччина, Франція, Британія, Італія, Польща, сподіваємось, буде Данія, інші партнери. Політична координація, яка має значення. Єдність, яка дає успіх. Нам всім потрібен справжній мир. Вдячні кожній, хто допомагає. Слава Україні!
Well, let me back that up because I was hoping to catch it before that. But...
Координація, яка має значення. Єдність, яка дає успіх. Нам всім потрібен справжній мир. Вдячні кожному.
I am grateful to everyone who helps. That is you guys. Yeah. And every time he does one of these speeches, he makes sure to mention you guys. I'm grateful to everyone who helps. You know, that's everyone from, you know, $1 donation up to the $1 million donations. Everything helps. And of course,
кожній, хто допомагає. Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Бажаю здоров'я!
Sorry, I didn't mean to giggle there, but Andrew Petrie, every time you have to explain how your name is pronounced, this is what I think of. This is Petrie. You know, The Land Before Time, Ducky, Spike. So I'm sorry, but that just popped in my head and I couldn't help but giggle a little bit. Hey, Nikki Hill, good to see you. Ozzy T, oi, oi, oi. Now, people forget that it's the people that matter. We talk about governments and, Biden and Trump and Putler, and it's the people that matter. Without the indifference of the Russian people, Putin wouldn't be in power. Without the American people calling their congressmen and representatives, I think a lot of the aid bills that passed wouldn't have passed. So you do make a difference. Keep making those phone calls to your representatives. Tell them, I still care about Ukraine. You need to too. It makes a difference. And air alerts are still clear in Ukraine. Another thing people forget a lot is, my time's 9 p.m. 5 hours ago, Ukraine started its new day. It is 5 a.m. in Ukraine at the moment, 5:05 a.m. 3 more hours, ZCU will be putting out a new operational information, putting it together. So yeah, we're talking about not only yesterday in Ukraine, but 2 days ago at this point. So we'll be talking about, Ukraine's talking about, we'll be talking about today in 3 hours. So yeah, there's a delay in the information. And as usual, I saved up some stuff for us in Telegram today. Let's go back to the top. Yeah, remember that one? December 8th. I really scrolled fast. Sorry. Here we go. December 9th. We get to see an ammo van go get bumped. You see the drone flying around? That's more than just the drone. That was a van full of ammunition. And you could see the ammunition cooking off out the side of the van. Yeah, nothing that gives away the information, but you can see the date, November 29th, 2024 at 7 a.m. C-Baby's got an upgrade. Before I show you this video, let's read a little bit here. C-Baby drones of the Security Service of Ukraine with machine guns mounted on them worked against Russian helicopters and airplanes on the night of December 5th and 6th. So little robotic machine guns, and this is the results. Russia sent helicopters to intercept the Sea Babies. And you're seeing what the drone operators see. Use the machine guns mounted on the Sea Babies to engage the helicopters. Here comes the airplanes. It's hard to tell in that, but that night a group of our drones engaged in a battle with Russian helicopters, planes, and Raptor patrol boats that tried to intercept them. The Russians sent helicopters to fight off the sea drones in the usual way, but they unexpectedly opened fire in return. As a result of the battle, the enemy suffered losses in the form of killed and wounded. The helicopters were significantly damaged and required major repairs. This data became known from radio interceptions. The SBU drones hit a barge that was transporting military equipment and equipment for the repair of the Crimean Bridge, which the occupiers are still unsuccessfully trying to restore after previous bombings by the Ukrainian Special Services. The last Sea Baby was equipped with large caliber machine guns with ballistic programs for automatic guidance and automatic target acquisition, which made it possible to give the occupants a beating. The future of warfare right there. More drone on drone action for you folks. I do, but I can't. I don't know the name of it offhand. I'll have to find that for you. You know, it was like a month ago, people were talking about seeing drones taking out drones over Kyiv. It was a big secret, and now we're getting these kind of videos. Ukraine is going to end up being the technological masters of warfare after when this war is over. So we need to make sure to support Ukraine and make sure they make it through this war so we can learn from them and know how to deal with this in the future. Because unfortunately, as Ukraine is learning, so is Russia. And we're sitting here with on the sidelines with our sitting on our hands. Think about that, Trump and others. 80 separate I can't remember.
Злякалися. Кричать подвальчику цьому, що я казав.
Звідси уюба...
І також увага на
Звідси.
посадку зеленку.
Від до мене йде.
10 на 11.
Well,
Іди.
Russians hiding in that root cellar. Telling them to come out,
Я крию.
surrender.
Знаєш, де начальство? Давай, організовуй.
Russian soldier
Зараз показуєш точку.
already surrendered.
Все нормально буде жити.
Я на ногу на это не ступить не могу.
So one guy's trying to give up and his friends are trying to shoot behind him.
Здесь 200, 300, еще есть кто-то?
Um, yeah, I'll find that song with you at another time. Maybe at the end of the stream we'll go hunting for it. KKGG says, oh, if you don't think the U.S. military intelligence is taking copious notes, not to mention every other military in the world, I'd be mistaken. Oh no, I know they're taking notes, but we're not developing this stuff. The U.S. is focused on building up our, replacing ammo that we're sending to Ukraine. We're focused on refreshing our ammo supplies, not building the new stuff. Figuring out a cheap way to make drones without supply chains from China. Ukraine's doing all this. That's where we're gonna have to catch up. There's two things in this world that advances technology. Number one is war, and the other one's lack of labor. And Ukraine has both right now. And I'm going to skip ahead, and to prove that point, show you this video. This
A
is the
storm
new
is coming to Ukraine, but not the one the Russians would have you believe. This is Ukraine's latest piece of kit in development, the Storm multi-role armoured vehicle, set to be the new kid on the block of amphibious military vehicles. But this design claims to be the first to take advantage of a hybrid electric power chain, with an 18 to 36 hour range in hybrid mode or 8.5 hours on diesel generator only mode. It'll have a top speed of 88 miles per hour on land with 2.5 hours of operation, or 21 miles per hour, that's 18 knots, on water for 8 hours, all on one battery charge. Storm will carry up to 10 personnel and is being designed for exceptional mobility and reliability with the latest ballistic, IED and mine blast protection technology. Research and development company Highland Systems is testing prototypes right now with another variant capable of complete submersion. Also on the Highland Systems production line is this submarine called Kronos. The developers describe it as the world's first gliding submarine with a unique hydrodynamic hull that allows it to move more like an aircraft in flight through the water. The hull is a combination of steel and high-strength composite material, shaped to give it a low signature to defeat detection systems and radio interference. And it'll be able to carry a small-sized Italian torpedo system called Black Scorpion, courtesy of defense giant Leonardo, with a range of 3,000 meters. Like Storm, prototypes are already undergoing testing in the Middle East. Stuart Rumble, BFBS Forces News.
And talk about future
Thanks for
warfare.
watching. For more from BFBS Forces News,
And talk about future warfare. Those are Italian made for Ukraine, developed with Ukraine's input. Yeah, that's the future. Sadly, it's also, well, mixed in with what is current. This is retaking of positions near New York. Let's go to the deep state map. Oh, my brain just had a fart where New York was. So Toretsk, New York, and it doesn't give an exact location, but these are Ukrainian defense trenches that were captured by Russia, and Ukraine is retaking it. Oh, that's loud. Sorry about that. So, let's get back to a screen that, there we go. They're basically putting a screen mesh over the entrance of the dugouts now to protect them from drones. It doesn't protect them from Ukrainians. You see the hole punched in it already? Ukrainians had to blow a hole in the roof of this thing. And, oh, the thing's in the way. Let me see if I can back it up just a little bit. That is an anti-tank mine attached to a stick, basically. And that's what they used to punch a hole in the top of this dugout. And that's what it takes for Ukrainians to recapture a trench Russia has captured. I don't smell carrots, but I don't smell much of anything. Oh, that one's pretty bad, KKGG. mm. Oh God, I'm gonna leave that one alone. So luckily none of these are NAFO trucks, but these are why the NAFO trucks are needed. Part of the reason why the NAFO trucks are needed. Back up, close the video, and the SBU, together with National Police, detained 5 people who, in search of easy money, burned military cars and administrative buildings. In November, a resident of the Capitol followed a telegram message offering to burn a car belonging to the Defense Forces for $1,000. For this, he involved an acquaintance, and I'm not going to try to pronounce that. They burned, a Nissan car was burned. In Poltava, a girl also received an order in Telegram to set fire to a serviceman car for monetary reward. She completed the task, burning a car near her home. 2 men set fire to an administration building and the generator that powers the networks of one of the mobile operators. Fools were also attacked via messenger and offered a reward. This is what Russia does. They sit there and try to entice people to do this stuff. You know, offering them $1,000 US. You know, that's like 4 months worth of wages. And then they don't pay them. It's a scam. That's the Russian scam, to get you to do stuff you normally wouldn't do, because I could live for 4 months without that. Sadly, it happens. Already did the week in Ukraine. Let me pull up this town on Deep State really quick. Ivanivsky. This is this town that we're about to see. You know, watch this. You see this bend in this road, and then this road coming off. The bend in the road with the road coming off. This is Ivanivsky. What's left of it, anyways. Just like Bakhmut, just like all the other cities we looked at satellite pictures for, there isn't a building left standing. These are the towns Russia is capturing. This is what is being done to them. They're not capturing towns, they're capturing rubble sites. This is the Russian mirror, the Russian world, the Russian peace that they want for Ukraine. It's very peaceful when there's no place to live for anybody, because nobody's there. They don't want Ukraine. They don't want the people. They just want the land. We did the Tourette's deep dive. We covered the new amphibious vehicle. I'm going to save that one for last. hand in hand with the story of the Sea Babies. I should have played this sooner, but this is essentially what was attached to the Sea Baby. But these are entering active service now on the front lines in Ukraine. You know, development is over. The future of warfare is here. And just so the Ministry of Defense put into operation the Ukrainian robotic complex with a Browning 12.7 machine gun, track platform with the most difficult conditions, remote control via tablet, works on digital communication. So these are announced as being on the front line now. And an art piece for you.
Я не знаю, как такое получилось. Это выглядит очень странно. Это похоже на какое-то инопланетное что-то. Но это застывшее что-то. Я не знаю, что. Короче, выглядит совершенно удивительно и невероятно.
Just in case you haven't figured out what this artwork is, it is Russian artwork. In Volgograd, to the delight of the locals, a new art object appeared. The installation called In the Fecal Cave. Yes, it consists of stalagmites made of fecal masses. Yeah, literally, Russia is a shit show. Sorry. With the low temperatures and everything, it kind of, their sewer system kind of just spilled out, and the sewer froze like this along the street. So literally Russian shit show. I'm sorry, that kick got me a little bit more than I thought it would. You know, it's not so bad when it's frozen. If anybody's ever had to live with an outhouse in the winter, outhouses aren't so bad because everything freezes. In spring, when that thaws, ugh. In the town of Vorokhiv in southeastern Ukraine, is located just 10 kilometers from the front line and is under almost constant Russian shelling. Some 900 people remain in the city. Among them is a couple of Yuri and Lubov Lysenko, who have been caring for dozens of animals that their neighbors left behind.
In the almost 3 years since Russia's invasion, most of the residents of Orikhiv in Ukraine's Zaporizhia region have left their town due to non-stop shelling. Many of them did not take their pets.
There you go, have some food.
Retired couple Yuri and Lyubov Lysenko decided to stay put. Despite the shelling that virtually never stops, they say they can't leave because they have a mission: to save the animals abandoned by their owners.
People would ask why we don't leave. Well, how can we leave? Yes, staying alive is the most important thing. We agree with that. But what about them? We are going to Zaporozhye for a day. I need to see a dentist. And when I get back, they're so happy to see me. They greet me.
Yuri supports his wife. He believes even with constant shelling, it's possible
Oh,
to
look
live
at
a
those
full
grapes.
life and take care of the household.
I'm so jealous.
It's simple. We planted tomatoes near the house. We have a garden where we plant potatoes, onions, garlic. Then we can harvest the vegetables. So we have enough for the winter.
There's been no electricity in Orikhiv for the past 2 years. Gas pipelines have been cut off as well. The couple is used to buying propane to cook, and they use solar panels to charge flashlights and batteries. Their house was damaged by a Russian-guided bomb that hit
That's
their
more than
neighbor's house
damaged.
last summer. Lyubov says that was the scariest night she can recall.
We were asleep, and then there was this horrible explosion. The windows and doors flew out. The ceiling in the room I was in started crumbling. Yura was in another room. He shouted, "Luba, are you alive?" I shout back, "I am." Then I climbed out of the rubble, and we asked each other, "What was that?"
Hold on. I'm sorry to interrupt this
Enough for the
story,
winter.
but
To cook, and they use solar panels to charge their
that is not a shed. That is the house. The reason you can tell is because of the fireplace in the middle of the house. That fireplace is not only for cooking, it's the heat for the home. And they're keeping the rain and weather out with tarps, blankets. And
neighbor's house last summer. Lyubov says that was the scariest night she can recall.
We were asleep, and then there was this horrible explosion. The windows and doors flew out. The ceiling in the room I was in started crumbling. Yura was in another room. He shouted, "Luba, are you alive?" I shout
Okay, I
back,
got you,
"I
Ronnie."
am." Then I climbed out of the rubble, and we asked each other, "What was that?"
But despite all that, they stay.
We come into the yard, and here they are. They cling to your legs, look you in the eye, meow, bark.
This is
The
like the
couple takes-
definition of the Ukrainian heart. Such love for the animals that they're living like that so they can take care of these animals. I mean, I have to sit there and ask myself if I would live like that to help take care of the animals that were abandoned. I don't know if I could answer that honestly.
Care of about 40 cats and 17 dogs from neighboring streets. They say they are grateful to volunteers for pet food donations, but they say it's not enough. So the couple spends one of their pensions on food for the animals.
We make porridge, these 3 pots, that's enough for one day. We feed them all in the morning, and then I start another round.
Only about 900 people remain in Orikhiv, compared to over 14,000 before the war. And these days, they all are preparing for yet another long winter under shelling. For Yeva Mironova in the Zaporizhia region, Ukraine, Anna Rice, VOA News.
You know, everybody talks about like the big animal shelters. And yes, they're doing a much needed job. They're, collecting the animals and stuff like that, but there's just so many of them. And it seems like every town in Ukraine where people they've left behind animals because the rules of taking animals over international borders just sucks. It's really hard to get an animal across international borders. So every town seems to have a couple or, someone like these people taking care of those animals. See you later. Go with the flow. Yeah, I'll track down that song, and I'll make a post on my community tab linking to it. So, I'm gonna try and track this down more. And if I can find out a way to get donations to these guys, I might do a fundraiser to help them out. I have to do some research and try to get the information for them and see where it goes. Because the fact that there's, they're getting pensions, but those pensions are like $200. And they're spending half of their income to feed other people's animals. So I'm gonna try and track them down, see if I can get a donation link or something for them. Air alerts are still clear. Usually the Shaheeds have started by now, right before dawn. So hopefully the attacks for tonight have stopped. Let's move on to what little there is of news of Ukraine in mainstream media. Russian prison boss killed in car blast in occupied Ukraine. There was a video for this. I did not link it to my Telegram channel because, well, like the bodies are right here. The former head of the notorious prison in Russia occupied Ukraine has reportedly been killed in a car blast in Donetsk, in what is being seen as the latest in a series of attacks on pro-Kremlin figures in occupied land. Just to, say the unsaid part here, this is Ukrainian partisans in occupied areas fighting against Russians. Just because they're in occupied land doesn't mean they want to be part of Russia. Yusukov, who was chief of the Olenivka prison, where dozens of Ukrainian prisoners of war died in a missile strike in July of 2022. I don't know if you guys remember that, but yeah, surprisingly, there were no Russian guards or people left there. It's just the Ukrainians, prisoners of war, and a missile came in and struck it and they blamed it on Ukraine. They said Ukrainians struck it, but why weren't there any guards? Anyways. Russian authorities said they opened a criminal investigation in the incident. Ukrainian bloggers reported that his wife was also injured in the attack, losing a leg, and was in the hospital in critical condition. I would say she's an innocent bystander, but I don't think she is. She's married to the guy that murdered people, in my opinion. You don't just turn a blind eye to that. You just don't know about that and stay with them. So another one was taken out in November. Valery Trankovsky, who had been accused of war crimes in Ukraine, was killed in Crimea. AFP news agency reported last month, citing a source in the Ukrainian security service, that the Trankovsky's assassination was orchestrated by Ukrainian intelligence and, of course, Ukrainian partisans in Crimea. You know, Crimea's been occupied for 10 years. And there's still partisans operating in Crimea that don't want to be part of Russia. And we're talking about letting Russia keep these lands. You know, is it going to be 50 years before these parts of Ukraine are able to rise up like Syria? Anyway, moving on. Unfortunately, it doesn't really move on. It's the same news from yesterday where Zelensky revealed the losses for Ukrainian army. I'm not going to rehash that. Zelensky suggests foreign troops could be deployed in Ukraine as an interim solution to security issues. You know, dude has good ideas. If our governments will just listen, sometimes it seems. And I'd like to tell you more about this story, but these are all behind paywalls. China is cutting off drone supplies critical to Ukraine's war effort. No, Bloomberg and oh, you all know my email, so who cares? Uh, 259-83338. So I get one article. Holy crap. No, I don't want that. Jesus Christ, just to read your article. China's escalating conflict with the U.S. over trade is now extending to the drones that have become a vital part of Ukraine's defense. Manufacturers in China recently began limiting sales to the U.S. and Europe of key components used to build unmanned aerial vehicles. According to multiple people with knowledge of the developments, who asked not to be identified discussing sensitive information. The moves are a prelude to broader export restrictions on drone parts that Western officials expect Beijing to enforce in the new year. Those rules could take the form of license approvals based on intended use of the components, or softer requirements for Chinese companies to notify the government of their shipment plans, according to one of the people. The trade conflict has ratcheted up this month, with Washington slapping fresh curbs on the sale of high bandwidth memory chips and additional semiconductor gear to China. In response, Beijing banned the sale of dual-use items to the American military and several materials with high-tech and military applications to U.S. companies. The measures weeks before Donald Trump returns to the presidency with a tough on China agenda have sent prices spiking, upending trade flows as manufacturers sought alternative supplies. Yeah, this is going to hit more than just Ukraine, just the U.S. There you go. I was gonna suggest that Vladimir Putin, if anybody needs a proxy to buy drone parts from Australia, he'd be happy to help. Unfortunately, there's so much stuff that's made in China, you can't get around it right now. I love to not buy anything from China, Sally. But we're stuck with it. And unfortunately, that's where we're at in the world. It sucks. Holy crap, they fluffed that article out a lot. I'm not going to read through all of this. So, Shield AI Incorporated is a startup that makes autonomous aircraft designed to operate without GPS or remote pilots. The company is active in Ukraine, where drones are pivotal to the ongoing war. If you're the investor type, I would definitely look at, going into some of these businesses and investing with them. Because if China starts doing that, if China actually enforces this, these tech companies designing alternatives to China's manufacturing, they're going to skyrocket in price. It's a bit of a gamble, but definitely worth looking into. China may use rare earth to retaliate against the U.S., says analysts. Yeah, a lot of our rare earth materials are mined in China or processed in China, or they came from Russia and Ukraine. We all know that nothing's being processed in Ukraine because it's just too dangerous to run. Well, and the power needed to run like smelters and stuff, it is just not capable to be done in Ukraine. Sanctions on Russia, so China's the only supplier right now. And if they cut off rare earth elements, so yeah, an interesting future is coming, I think. New York Times says Ukraine weighs Telegram security risks amid war with Russia. Yeah, I can't imagine why, going back to, this here with people getting scammed on Telegram to burn military vehicles and buildings. And then we're back to 3-day-old stories about meat grinder tactics. Ukrainian troops counterattacked near a small Donetsk town. Talking about Novy Kumar. This was 4 days ago, and they're just now reporting on it. Let's just make sure they're talking about Novy Kumar. Yeah. Retaking the ground, they recently lost around the town of Velika Novosibirska. So it happens 3 days ago, but it finally makes the news now. Western news instead of just the Kiev Post. Euromaidan Press, Ukrainian news. But it doesn't get put on here until Forbes covers it 8 hours ago, 4 days after the fact. That's all I have from the mainstream news. See if anything new's happening. The shooting suspect from United Healthcare. Syria facing systemic turning point. Altoona McDonald's review. So somebody bombed a McDonald's in Altoona. And gang leader in Haiti is accused of massacring people. That's the U.S. news for you. That's what the news agencies deem as important to people in the U.S. 26 degrees out. 27. That's all I have there. Still no air alerts. Still makes me a happy camper. So I'm going to end the stream and I'm going to try and hunt down those people in Orarchiv and hunt down that song. And I'll let you guys know. If you guys have any questions or things you want me, anything else you guys want me to look into, I will, well, now's the time to do it. Okay, how do we get on serial discussion? Well, not 200 years, just 80 years. Well, yeah, 80 years since the end of World War II. Global trade really wasn't a thing until after World War II. Before World War II, before World War II, like, the Britain, if you wanted something and New Guinea had it, you invaded, took it over, and then you took the resources back to the United Kingdom, imperial type of landscape. That's one of the things that led to World War I and World War II. It's in the history books. You can go look it up yourself. It wasn't until after World War II where the U.S. started patrolling the sea lanes. You didn't have to escort your trade ships, and anybody could trade with anybody. Unfortunately, 80 years on, this has led to the situation where, Russia and China can dictate world policy because they have the most resources to sell. America's very rich in resources, but we use our resources to make stuff. Russia used to do that, but since the collapse in 91, they pretty much shut down factories and just went to mining and resource production. China basically turned Russia's resources into an industry to turn those into products and sell them to us cheap. And that's unfortunately the world we live in. Yeah, we take world trade for granted. Very much so. It's not the greatest system, but it's the system we're stuck with at the moment. I'd say in the last 8 to 10 years, there's been like a reshoring of industry back to North America from in the US. Mexico is a cheaper labor force than China now, but Mexico doesn't have the population that China does, so they can't take all of China's production. So there's like even going down to Colombia and Brazil, what was the saying used? Mexico now needs a Mexico from the 1990s. So like Mexico is using like Colombia and South America as the cheap labor pool for stuff that Mexico needs done cheaper than their wages. Yeah, it's an interesting situation. And it's a troubled couple of years if we don't straighten out. If we trace you must be over here somewhere, Neon. Yeah, you're gonna see. I think in the next 10 years, you're gonna see a huge boom in processing of raw materials in South America. Especially Peru and Chile. I know there's a U.S. company building a iron foundry in Chile. And that's going to take a lot of the raw resources from Asia, process it, sell it to Mexico and the United States for further manufacturing. Yeah, Bangladesh t-shirts are slave wages. I know that. But yeah, it's becoming interesting, and I'm going to touch on the Syrian thing right now, just a little bit. Syria is important to Russia because of Africa. Russia, through Wagner, is all over Africa. Diamond mines, gold mines, that kind of thing, trying to influence and overthrow countries and basically do what they're doing, try to do in Georgia, in Chechnya, to countries in Africa to bring them under control. Why Syria was important to Russia was because it was a layover port for their stop to Africa. So if Russia loses its military bases in Syria, Africa's going to be basically cut off from Russia. It's still shipping through Black Sea. but like air travel had to stop in Syria. So let's go. Where is it? Where is it? Yeah, I don't see anybody covering that part of it. But there was a news blurb earlier today that I can't seem to find right now about Putin making a hand, offering to negotiate with the new leaders of Syria for Russia to keep its bases in Syria. I don't know, maybe CNN touches on it. Assad's flight to Moscow following the swift collapse of his regime means more than just the loss of a client state for the Kremlin. Of course, -1 dictator and ally of Putin. Here we go. But the collapse of Assad's regime represents a very real military loss to Putin. In the wake of rebel advances, videos emerged showing toppling of monuments. Moscow has kept a naval base since the Cold War on the Syrian coast. Russia has also relied on its air base in Amimi, in Syria as a hub for projecting power in the Middle East and Africa, even though they don't say it here. Putin's visit in 2017 pledged that the two bases would continue to operate on a permanent basis, warning that if the terrorists, opponents of Assad, raise their heads again, he will deal unprecedented strikes unlike anything they've seen. So, and now he's reaching out to the new rulers of Syria can I keep my bases, please? Please, sir, may I have some more? Anyway. That is going to be an interesting situation to watch in the future. I shouldn't have closed the map. There's this big thing about warm water ports for Russia. And it's becoming less and less of a point with global climate change. But yeah, I forgot where it was, somewhere around here is the Russian naval base. It was one of the main important things in Sevastopol that Russia wanted was the naval base. This is a huge, huge harbor. You see the harbor entrance here, and the ships lined up. Ukraine was renting this harbor to Russia. Russia didn't want to pay their rent anymore, so they invaded it. All this land Russia captured because they were worried about this naval base and this airport or air base. That's the only thing Russia cares about in the whole of Crimea. But because they wanted those, they had to take this. Because this bridge wasn't enough to keep their thumb on Crimea, they wanted a land bridge. So they took all this. You know, how many people in Mariupol, how many buildings, how many lives destroyed just in that one city so Russia could have a highway to Crimea because they wanted a naval base. And this is what gets me is, okay, even if Russia did not have Sevastopol, they have a base in Sochi. They have a base in Novorossiysk. But they're a lot smaller. I mean, look at the size of this. You know, there's only so much they could do in this area. And then go down to Sochi. Oh, I lost track of it. Sochi's even smaller. So yeah, anybody that holds Sevastopol is going to be the naval power in the Black Sea, just because of the sheer size of the port. It is what it is. Now, what I find interesting is you see these little inlets all around here. Ukraine could build a huge naval base in one of these inlets. And that is why Russia doesn't want them to have it, because they could build a bigger naval base than Sevastopol. It's also the Bespian Gap right here. I need to get that add in so I can draw on these maps. But like right here, this is where Russia wants to get to. Short distance between a mountain range and the sea. They can cut off this area and hold it with a small number of troops because Russia's population is failing. Unfortunately, that includes a rather large chunk of Romania. You know, the common misconception among the useful idiots is that, oh, Putin will stop with Ukraine. Oh, he just wants Crimea. That was what was said back in 2017 or 2014. Oh, they just want Donetsk and Luhansk, was said at the beginning of this war, of this invasion. He's even proven that wrong, because now he wants Kherson, Zaporizhia, Donetsk, Luhansk, and is making a bid to take over Kharkiv. No, he doesn't want Ukraine, he wants here. And he wants here. Because with the river that runs along here, and the gap from Warsaw to the Carpathian Mountains, his armies could control that border. His armies in the future cannot control this border. It is what it is. I'm going to leave that up just in case I need it again in the future. Aussie T. It's a lot harder to get stuff from Russia without the Mediterranean. Very true. This is the thing that I don't understand with the Black Sea. Yeah, even if Russia had full control over Odessa, Sevastopol, Georgia, yeah, they'd have military power in the Black Sea, but they couldn't project that power anywhere past the Black Sea because right here, Istanbul, Turkey controls this little strait that connects the Mediterranean Sea to the Black Sea. Unless they control Turkey and Istanbul, and even further down here, power in the Black Sea doesn't mean anything but power in the Black Sea. I mean, you might as well be talking about the Caspian Sea. Why does Russia have military boats in the Caspian Sea? Oh, because they need to enforce their rule over Azerbaijan and connect with their buddy Iran. Power in the Black Sea doesn't mean anything without Turkey as an ally. Because Turkey can just say, no, your ships aren't going through the strait. Period. Done. End of story. That's why they need that port in Syria. So they don't have to bend a knee to Turkey. No invading the USA's hat. See, the problem with that, Andrew Petrie, is to get to Canada, he has to go through Alaska. And I know several Alaskans that alone will not let that happen. Yeah. Yeah, and Russia has a warm water port here in St. Petersburg, basically now. The Baltic doesn't freeze anymore up here. They also have Kaliningrad. This does not freeze. Most of Russia's shoreline is up here, and like this area all used to freeze. They used to have icebreakers that would make a line, and they just go back and forth, keeping a clear path to the ports in the North Sea. Unfortunately, the ice caps aren't there anymore. Talk to people in Alaska, and they'll tell you that their shorelines are eroding massively because the winter storms are coming in and there's no ice sheet to protect the shorelines. Unfortunately, it is a global climate change issue. But yeah, to say Russians wanted Sevastopol as a warm water port, no, it's a port to control the Black Sea. It's a port to try and control influence over Turkey and Bulgaria and Romania. And put pressure on Georgia. This region here and this region here are Russian occupied right now. Let's go to the deep state map because they have it in red. Okay, it doesn't want to zoom in that far. But that's the capital of Georgia. Russians occupy this part of Georgia and here. You know, this is Chechnya, and of course Moldova. You know, if we fail Ukraine and Russia is able to take over Ukraine, it's a coin flip of who's next, Moldova or Georgia. Baltic Sea below Helsinki and Stockholm does not freeze. Yeah. Helsinki, Stockholm. So like this freezes. That's a question, not a statement. But yeah, this area remains fairly open. I know that. When I returned from Ukraine, I flew from Warsaw to Helsinki, and you know, this was all open water. Got to Helsinki and it was snowing. Let's yeah, this was my view off the plane coming into Helsinki. This was late April. But the water was clear. And then, you know, no ice or nothing, so. Tallinn, of course, where the NAFO 69 Sniffing Brigade operate out of in Estonia. But yeah, Russians run through here. And the other important port for them is Novorossiysk. The oil pipelines run to Novorossiysk and up to St. Petersburg. And what Russia is doing to get around the sanctions is they have these little small oil tankers that will fill up and can go through these straits. And they're coming out here in international waters, and like they have super tankers lashed together out here, and they're using these little courier oil tankers to come out here, fill them up, run back, and that's all they do is run back and forth from here and here. And they just run back and forth. And then the super tankers come here, fill up, and go around to India and China. I know. This is my concern right now with what's happening in Syria, is if Russian bases in Syria are removed from Russia, what's there is going to be here. But we know that like the Russians have withdrawn a lot of ships from Sevastopol because Ukrainian attacks. Some of those ships were withdrawn to Syria. you know, I already showed you Novorossiysk cannot hold that many. Sochi cannot hold that many. So a lot of them went to Syria and other bases they have in Africa. But if they lose Syria, they're going to have nowhere else left to go but here. Oh, why I've rambled on. We've rabbit holed quite a bit. Well, unfortunately, it is war. War sucks. Nobody ever really wins. But I hope Ukraine and Zelensky can manage a just peace like he wants. Yeah, Egypt could be one of the destinations. It's hard to say. They might, if Turkey, which is backing the rebels in Syria, says the warships can't go through the Black Sea, Denmark and Sweden might not let them through the straits here. So they may end up having to go all the way up to the North Sea. So that could be really interesting. With how the future plays out with Syria. If the new regime in Syria does not want to cooperate with Russia, that puts Russia in a huge bind, because that puts their African interest in jeopardy. And Turkey wants to play tough. They're going to hold all the cards. And Putin's going to have to go bend over and let Turkey put in. Yeah. Syria's a game changer for Russia. Unfortunately, I still worry that those...
Russia were victorious over Syria by a score of 4-0 in the...
Okay, Syria and Syria sound close enough, but that was funny. But even my phone says Syria won over Russia 4-0. What's something else we could deep dive into, I guess? Oh, I know. There hasn't been much said about it today. There's no end in sight to Georgia's anti-government demonstrations. Russia stuck their finger in the ballot box in Georgia, and the people aren't happy. There's been a lot of talk about, myself included, about this looking like Euromaidan in Kyiv. We have been striving to become part of the EU since our independence. Georgi, a university professor, told the reporter while protesting in front of Parliament in Tbilisi. We are not going to admit they are Russian puppets like Belarus, but we see that they are stopping our European future. It is not just suspicion, it is termination. Ruling party has fiercely denied pro-Russian sympathies, positioning itself as the only party that could save Georgians from another war amid Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. So they're appeasing Putin to avoid war. We know how that works. Ukraine appeased Putin by letting him take Crimea in 2014, and look where we are now. Following the election on October 26, Georgia's election commission declared Georgian Dream's victory with 54% of the votes. Pro-EU president, Samela, I'm not going to butcher her name, very cool lady. She was out there standing between the police and the protesters, yelling at the police. Where was I? Civil society groups accused the government of election rigging. The ruling party claimed the election was clean, but some local and international observers have documented numerous election irregularities. A protester who has questioned the legitimacy of the results told the reporter at a protest that he demanded a rerun of the election. You know, that's not a huge ask. They're not asking people to step down. They're asking to redo the election. That's a minimal ask, in my opinion. And the response from the police, because they're asking for a re-election, it reaffirms in my mind that, yeah, the elections were rigged. I've seen how ruling party observers were pressuring people at the polling stations to vote the Georgian Dream. I documented it. It's not just me. The ruling party has captured every state institution, parliaments, courts, and the election commission. You and I know, well, pretty much every American realizes you never win everything. Having everything on your side is very, very, very rare. Even in Trump's first presidency, he didn't have support in the House of Representatives. He had a tough time pushing through bills because he didn't have this. He's not going to have it again. Hey, that's how democracy works. You win some, you lose some. You never have a full majority. And somehow this Georgian Dream Party got the full majority. Peaceful protests have seen police hunting down protesters, detaining, beating them up. Ombudsman, Georgia's rights ombudsman, Levan, I'm not going to hack his name, described police actions as brutality and torture. Does that sound like a Democratic elected ruling? Data, a literary translator and pro-EU demonstrator, told the reporter he was severely beaten up by the police when he was hanging around at a rally this week. Police have no red lines. They are violent to stop people. They use violence to stop people from participating in the rallies and to show that's what's happening to you if you protest. That's not a democracy. That's a totalitarian, not to say we don't have instances of, police brutality in America, but when, look at Occupy Wall Street. You didn't see people getting dragged off in cars and beaten up at the police station. Oh no, I don't think there was collusion on Trump's part, but I think the powers that be that wanted Trump and his policies to come in were putting their finger on the scales through media and, well, X. Unfortunately, when you control the media, you control the population. And the people that control the media wanted Trump, so here we are. So despite sustaining injuries to his eye, a broken nose, and a concussion, this guy said he'd be back on the streets once he fully recovers. He's not talking about going out and fighting the cops. He's just talking about going out and protesting, holding a sign saying we need another to redo a recount. Yeah. Everybody has issues. That's the thing, is nobody's perfect. Even in the U.S. Constitution, we say a more perfect union, not a perfect union. Nobody has it right. Nobody's like the perfect democracy. Nobody's completely free of corruption. I think America is probably one of the most corrupt governments in the world, but we just hide it better. From my town, the local mayor stole an entire trailer of furniture meant for, we had a tornado a few years back, and there was a donation of a trailer full of furniture to replace furniture that was lost in the tornado. That entire trailer disappeared. That's corruption. But nothing was ever done about it. No stories were ever said. That's local to my little town. Okay, let's go out to my state. A few years back, there was a state initiative to get a slaughterhouse built in South Dakota. For a certain amount of investment, foreign investors would get a state-sponsored green card to the United States. Millions and millions of dollars flowed into this slaughterhouse that was supposed to be built. They built the building. There's no equipment in it. this was like 8 years ago. No equipment in it. No, not a single cow has been processed. Pig, nothing. There, it's an empty shell. The rest of the money disappeared. When we're talking 25, $30 million that just disappeared. No prosecutions. I think there was like one little news story about it, and then it disappeared. So, yeah, there's a lot of talk about corruption in Ukraine, but that's because Ukraine talks about it. They don't sweep it under the rug. They put it out there to see and that to show people that they're working on it. We don't work on ours. We just hide it under the rug and go, shame on you. Don't do it again. You know, hide it better next time. That's why I hate hearing these freaking bullshit stories about Ukrainian corruption. Here's what you need to know. Yeah, I love this. That's like a straight from YouTube clickbait title. Oh my Lord. Kyiv Independent. Georgian Prime Minister announces a new law banning face coverings at protests. You know, probably the same person that mandated face coverings during COVID. No, and all that is them wanting to be able to identify people to prosecute them later. Sure, this is not a peaceful, I wouldn't say this is a peaceful protest with the fire in the background. But if you go to a protest and you're worried about repercussions because you were protesting, you know, probably this prime minister, I'd want to cover my face too in some of these countries, even here maybe in the US, because people are crazy. I wouldn't want my face on the international news saying, hey, this is the person that's leading the protest. You take them out and the protest fails. Yeah, because that's basically what's happening. But anyways, yeah, that's what's happening in Georgia. Unfortunately, it's not being covered. Let's check out what's going on Blue Sky. Notifications. So, thanks for reposting. Thanks for the new followers. Okay. I love that quote. Robin Williams, politicians should wear sponsored jackets like NASCAR drivers. Then we know who owns them. Okay, that's a little scary. Shills, our next fundraisers with Cars for Ukraine is ready and live. So you want to support a good project? I'll just use this tab. I'll have to do it this way. They don't have a very big YouTube channel, so it doesn't come up all the time. Oh, come on. You have to... Okay, I know how to do this. Rick's YouTube.
Good day everyone, today is a special day because we are sending 500 car to the front line. And we normally do it as a routine job, quietly, not really making it a special thing, but we decided that today we want to celebrate it because it's a true huge milestone. And guys like Pickups for Peace, NAFO community, Jeeps for Peace, they all reaching 500, and together we are like 2,000 cars. We'll talk to soldiers, we'll see what do they think about those cars, we'll see how cars look inside, and also talk to a few guests that came specifically for today. So enjoy that video.
Dang it. What's a Canty stream without being a muted mic? Anyways, I was saying this is Cars for Ukraine. 2 weeks ago, they hit their 500th car sent to Ukraine. There is a bunch of people doing this. You know, don't see them as competition. It's just another avenue for getting the soldiers the vehicles they need. Not all communities cross over. So, they have 42 subscribers. Definitely go check them out. You know, a lot of interviews with soldiers picking up the vehicles. So, interview with Roman, Army rep, and 5 vehicles were delivered 3 days ago. You know, 504, 505, 06, and 07, 13 days ago. 2 weeks ago, they get their 500. Yeah, they're doing good work. They're not as active on YouTube. They do other areas, but definitely worth checking out if you haven't before. And I'm gonna call it a night on there. My stomach's starting to say it's time for dinner. And woohoo! Snacks for them, but So there's my comment. So if you guys go over there, watch this video, hit the thumbs up, reply to my comment, let them know that, yeah, we love and support what they're doing. With that, I'm going to say good night. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate you supporting my stream. I especially appreciate you supporting Ukraine. Have a good night and stay safe, everybody. Wait. Make me answer and say it out loud. Okay, I'll link this video too. I checked my mic, it's back on. No, it wouldn't work because I shut off my phone because Siri was kicking in because I said Syria. Anyways, thanks for coming. Thanks for supporting Ukraine. Have a good night and stay safe, everybody. I gotta do it at least once a stream. I just need to not talk about Syria. Sorry. Donkey meals.